here. So today we're lucky enough to be joined by Summerraznboi, and I hope I said that right. But he is somebody who's worked with Magic Eden and recently has joined the Flashnet team. So he's actually working with Ethan Marcus, David Marcus's son. David Marcus is the CEO and founder of Lightspark. Lightspark created the chain Spark. We're going to get into all this stuff and make sure everyone has an understanding of what is going on with this ecosystem that we are very, very bullish on. So without further ado, let's bring him up. Let's bring up Summerraznboi. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Hi, how's it going?
Going well, going well. You've been pretty busy.
Thanks, Ron.
Oh, sorry. Siri just went off. You did get my username right, Summerraznboi. It was made back a long while, but it's pretty simple why it's called that. I'm a Asian boy born in the summer, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Nice. Reminds me of those like old, I'm older, so I remember Asian Avenue days whenever people would always have those type of, I'm half Asian, so I had one similar type of username before, but you've been super swamped, right?
Well, not right now. I'm actually so as you see my title, I'm clear to put incoming. I'm actually in between jobs right now, so kind of taking a breather this November, but then we'll be jumping into Flashnet in December officially. Yeah.
Amazing. So what's your background? Could you kind of give us your background, maybe leading up to Magic Eden, and we'll get into that after?
Yeah, my background. So previously I worked at Magic Eden for about like 2.5 years. Ever since I joined, I was basically working on Bitcoin side. So I was fortunate to join right when the Ordinals market just came live on Magic Eden side, and was able to captured the whole heyday of the ups and downs during that time. Definitely spent a lot of the time focusing on the protocol side, and then later taking on like leadership of the team as well.
That was a huge win for Magic Eden, in my opinion, to kind of say, okay, look, these other large NFT platforms are not going in. We're going to go dive in kind of head first in the Ordinals. Were you around whenever they experienced that first kind of taste of success from that, and what was that like?
Yeah, for sure. I was there. I was still like peripheral. Like when I first started, I actually built the. If you kind of remember in the early days in the bear market, there's like the auctions product. So that was actually my entryway into developing for Bitcoin for Magic Eden. But I was definitely there ever since the. Do you remember BRC20 marketplace?
Yes.
Came and left. Yeah. So I was not officially on the team yet, but I definitely saw that come and go. That kind of helped. That kind of was a learning lesson for us when we launched Runes. Like we definitely didn't want to repeat that, so we definitely made sure everything actually worked beforehand. But yeah, no, I was there. I remember being there for at the very beginning. I did a lot of Launchpad support at the time, so I actually had to help out with the No Monks launch. And so like the founder Notoshi had all his he did everything just using the CLI from Ord. So like all his credentials, all his seed phrase was actually stored within the Bitcoin script itself. So I had to like reverse engineer it to get it into something that works with like Web3 extension wallet to actually get it into our Launchpad and so forth. So it was a lot of fun, and of course also done last minute and during Christmas time. But that was definitely the kickoff of the Ordinals run for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So you just kind of mentioned NFTs. Do you see NFTs being on Spark? Do you think there's gonna be a token standard for NFTs?
I can't speak for Spark directly because
Gotcha.
I'll be joining Flashnet.
So do you just foresee it? Do you see it
potentially? I don't. Let me put it this way. I see potentially, but not. I don't. All right. So I think NFTs is a very general term, right? Like all it means is some kind of token that's non-fungible. So I'll break into two. I do think it's possible and it makes sense to exist NFTs specifically in terms of a DeFi primitive, right? Some text-based, like, if you were to do right now, what AMS right now is very Uniswap V2 style, right? Like everything is fungible, right? Whereas you have Uniswap V4, then you have like all these different like attributes and so, or different criteria in which you do your staking and so forth, which is non-fungible. So I can see like having these non-fungible types for this DeFi stuff. It makes sense. In terms of art, though, I don't see how anyone on the Bitcoin wants anything other than L1. It doesn't have that same narrative, right?
Gotcha. All right, so let's get into exactly like this whole ecosystem, starting with Lightspark. Could you kind of let us know what is, in your opinion, what is Lightspark?
Lightspark, yeah. So Lightspark is a company that start off with basically doing like pretty much scaling of Lightning solutions between B2B companies. You can see one of the most recent releases that they did was SoFi, right? Which they have being able to use Lightning as an implementation detail to really decrease the fees going between like two different like banks of the two different national origins. And so I think that Lightspark that's been their major business, and Spark has been like an outgrowth of that to help address some of the limitations of Spark. I'm sorry, limitation of Lightning. But they've always been very payments oriented, and Spark definitely, from Lightspark's point of view, is still very much a payments oriented, scalable technology, which is why they kind of focus specifically only on settlement. Right? They don't like Flashnet kind of bridge that gap in terms of that like the more smartness to it, but it kind of works to their advantage, right? Like each team's really working towards their strengths.
So Lightspark is Lightspark is Spark? Is it the same thing, or Spark the actual chain?
Yeah. So Lightspark is the parent company. I would say that like Lightspark basically is the one of the major developers. You could say the largest of the developers of Spark, and
Okay.
right now it's Spark. So Spark is effectively right now like a branch under Lightspark, so to speak. Obviously, it is a chain of sorts, so it's not. I mean, it was just one person. Like the validator set right now is kind of a smaller validator set, which has plans to kind of grow bigger as the stability of the system improves. I'm pretty sure right now it's between like Lightspark and Flashnet as the current, and there might be more. I don't know. But those are at least two that I know are currently in the current validator set that is keeping Spark, the network, going.
Yeah. So you just mentioned Flashnet, which is the part that really intrigues me, because I mean, without Flashnet, you have no real true kind of speed degeneracy that we've experienced a little bit with LumenX and stuff like that. I've heard people like Bob Bodley, which a lot of people respect in our space, say Flashnet is kind of like a bolted on programmability. Do you think that's a fair way to describe it? And if it is fair, that makes me think that Flashnet can bolt onto other environments as well. Maybe you can explain if I got that wrong and break that down for us.
Yeah, for sure. I think from a technical point of view, you're probably correct. Like Flashnet itself, I mean, I would say that like the very core of its technology is pretty much just like a validator set with using TE to kind of coordinate. Having said that, it's like saying a good team can build anything. So it's like currently our technology, the technology being built onto Spark, while can you extend that to other platforms? Yeah, that's probably technically possible, but I don't see it like I could see us. I could see. And speaking from an outsider's point of view, right? I have like no authority. I have no insight as to Fashnet's current plans right now. But if it was from my point of view, I'd say like it makes sense to potentially like integrate also like L1, for example. But like in terms of like chasing other chains and so forth, probably not as much. It just doesn't like fit the spirit of why Flashnet was spun up to begin with, right? It's like the same thing with. It's also the argument you can make with like Spark, right? Which is technically a state chain, so technically it can actually work with any UTXO chain, not just Bitcoin. So in theory, they can also integrate, like Dogecoin or whatever. But do they really want to? Like that kind of like boils down to like what is the target? What's the reason it exists to begin with, right? And I think there's a lot of problem in the space right now where like just because you can doesn't mean you should. So
that's fair.
Gotcha. And yeah, 100%. And like that's kind of why Spark is unique, because you mentioned that it is a state chain. It's not really like could you explain, how Spark is using Lightning in that sense, just for anyone who doesn't understand?
Yeah, for sure. For the most part, as Lightning integration, so a lot of how Flashnet or Lightspark is or Spark is doing its Lightning integration and some of its components. They do have this concept of SSP, which is a state provider, basically Spark's state provider. So it is this is a centralized entity, so like Spark in this case, where you are able to like do certain things that makes your lives a lot easier. For example, right now there are two ways which you can offboard your Bitcoin. There's the completely trustless way, which is like how the state chain guarantees your self custody. But there's also a way where you can just effectively do a swap of your Spark Bitcoin to L1 Bitcoin. You will do that swap basically with the SSP, which will act as your swap provider in that case. And similarly with Lightning, it's definitely, from what I can tell, it's basically a swap of like Lightning Bitcoin with Spark Bitcoin in that sense.
Yeah, you mentioned that, like, Flashnet, I believe, uses TEE. Do you think that is basically the best trust minimized approach for Bitcoin right now? I mean, because unless they upgrade the opcos or the chain.
In terms of trust minimized, I think you can probably depends if you consider like multi-sigs versus TEEs, like similar trust level assumptions. I do think like in terms of the least trust, other than like some of the upgrades and Bitcoin opcodes, I think the next best, the better thing from a trustlessness point of view that a Flashnet could do is once Spark allows for client-side multi-sigs. So right now, like it itself is using effectively like a multi-sig. It's not a multi-sig in terms of like the Taproot, crypto type of stuff. That's how they kind of do their whole validator set, right? And then they just need to do some changes to allow the client side to also kind of participate, not as a solo participant, but also as a multi-sig as well. So then that allows the client side to be able to do the same. So in that sense, then in theory, you can technically move away from TEE to using the client side multi-sig. So it's just truly just multi-sig on like that, like multi-sigs on top of multi-sigs, basically. Whether or not that would be actually done will remain to be seen, because there's also like performance considerations as well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like TE has always been like a solid solution for trying to scale Bitcoin, just because it makes sense. There's multiple fail safes and stuff with it as well. We're getting some questions in the chat about runes. Is there any plans to make runes a big part of the Spark Flashnet ecosystem? Is that something that you obviously worked with Magic Eden, so runes is kind of like a soft spot for the Bitcoin ecosystem? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I believe right now, SAS Terminal has taken over the spearhead in terms of getting some kind of Runes bridge build up. I'm pretty sure they're going to be whenever they get the chance, they'll also be looking for some validators to join that network as well for that Runes bridge. And then from that point of view, it'd just be as simple as submitting your runes to that bridge and getting some wrapped runes in the Spark token standard.
Yeah, and then you'll just take your rune and you'll have to have some brave soul come in and add liquidity on the Bitcoin side, right?
Oh man, you want to bridge soul over? Go ahead.
100%. So obviously, you're not working with the Flashnet team yet, but you start soon. What are some things you look forward to about potentially maybe learning about or just being a part of that Flashnet team in the early days?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like it definitely has a lot of the same feeling as when we were like early in the Bitcoin in the Ordinals run as well. It's just a lot of builders just building for the future, building for like my most favorite part about the whole building experience has actually been when I first joined, because it's like complete bare. There was like no expectations, and that's when a lot of good building actually happened. Like, for example, I actually joined Bitcoin having zero knowledge how Bitcoin worked. I barely even knew how crypto worked. I just came from another company before, just another crypto company, just for like a year and a half beforehand. But then during that time, I basically spent like 2 months just learning everything there was to be on Bitcoin, and somehow became the Bitcoin expert. Right. So I'm hoping that like, but I mean, it just takes time. Like it takes time. I know in this space when people People always chasing the latest meta, have no patience, taking time to really understand what you're building, and like also having conviction for what the future should be. I think is very, very key to the whole ecosystem, especially for Bitcoin, since it's its whole narrative from the get-go. Why I'm always been bullish on Bitcoin is because if everything else fails, Bitcoin will still survive, right? And so it's that longevity, ironically, not the quickness of meta that really keeps Bitcoin front and center for me.
Yeah, that is the one saying that is constantly put out there, right? It's like if everything else fails, Bitcoin will survive. So, I'm curious of your thoughts on the beta launch with Luminex, and what is your what's your perspective on the response from the community, and how does the team feel right now? Obviously, there's high demand, but what's your perspective on it?
Sorry, what's the? Can you repeat that?
So like how do you feel about the experience so far with the beta launch with Luminex and Flashnet? And like, are you guys feeling good about it? Do you feel like overwhelmed? What do you?
Yeah,
What's your
yeah.
perspective?
No, I think it's been a busy week grinding, trying to get things released and so forth. From what I can tell from the sidelines, I definitely do think it's been a lot of learning process for the whole team, right? Like just figure out like you have to understand most of the people probably at this point probably sees like Luminex, Flashnet, and like Spark all as one team, but it's really three different teams or three very distinct components. I'm very bullish this week though, since like Luminex literally flew over to the Spark office, and like all three teams are actually physically in the same room now. So it makes like even like this pre-launch testing, like they can actually like work together and like make sure they're all on the same page. And I think communication is definitely key in this regard, because I think like a lot of the trickiness has been like measuring what the load is at different layers too, uh, and like really getting those numbers down and then be able to load test and scale up as appropriately. I think they probably just I'll just leave it at that. I feel like with better communications, that everyone could be on the same page, and that the scale ups can actually be correct on all layers. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, because we've seen two now, two beta tests. The one being I think last Tuesday, the other one being last Thursday. What do you think they've learned going forward from those two insane launches? Is just that the community's nuts and they're gonna keep pressing buy, sell, or do you think that it's just like where what's going to happen next, do you think, with what have they learned, and what do you think they're going to be
Yeah,
doing
I
to
mean
kind
they're
of
learning
fix
what
some of the
we
things?
in the trenches already know. This degens be degens, right? And so but like for example, uh, uh you have to like for as an example, like it's not just all the trading that happens directly on Luminex, right? There's also all the onboarding, offboarding. There's also people like doing like all the other all the other peripheral transactions that are happening and preparations for the trades, and then people are still also doing airdrops, and like being able to capture all of those metrics can give a much more accurate representation of the load that they will get. And then I guess it's a bullish thing, but every time that they've relaunched, the traffic's actually gone hotter and hotter. So like also accounting for that as well is probably key, which I'm pretty sure they've seen it after two failed launches, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it failed launches. I actually enjoyed both of them. Right, it was almost just like every time my coins were like getting kind of boring, it was like a stoppage, and it was almost just like, all right, let's get it. And then when they would come back on, it would get exciting again. I don't know. I definitely enjoyed both days of the trading. It was definitely fun just kind of sitting here, especially day one. Day one was awesome. So really looking forward to what you guys are building. I'm actually looking forward to you joining the team there, and then coming back here and giving us some updates. But yeah, you have any last questions?
No, I'm just excited for Flashnet and what Spark is going to bring to the Bitcoin ecosystem. And I like that there's kind of two approaches in terms of culture: the Bitcoin Lightning kind of payments, making that better, but also the Flashnet for the degens and for obviously more programmability in the future. So super excited, and keep pushing and working hard. I know you guys will get it done.
Yeah, man. But just love you to stage one last time. If there's anything you want to say to the audience before we let you go.
No, just that you know, Flashnet will launch soon.
Soon, baby.
Love it.
Soon.
Love it.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you. See you next time.
Take it
Bye.
easy.